There's a lot of important Tesla news that just dropped, so you will want to pay attention to this episode, and we will start with Elon Musk's massive bombshell.
Being better than human driving in about 3 months, basically Q2 of this year, we feel confident of having a probability of accident that is better than the average experienced driver.
Of course, Elon Musk does not have the best track record of predicting when FSD will be safer than human driving, but he's going from saying that it's going to happen next year or this year to now just saying it's 3 months away. He made this prediction with this timeline last year and he's sticking with it for now. Personally, I don't expect FSD to be safer than human driving in all of North America just 3 months from now. But what is clear is that Elon Musk's confidence about FSD is actually growing, and the performance of FSD V13 is quite impressive and it is a massive improvement. So there's a lot of things happening with Tesla right now. For example, they just launched the new Model Y refresh in China. I'll get to that in just a moment. But also Elon Musk said that Tesla is aiming to build several thousand of its Optimus humanoid robots this year. He said, assuming things go well, we will 10x that output next year. So in 2026, we will have a goal to do maybe 50 to 100,000 humanoid robots next year and then 10x it again the following year. Now, I hear people say, but that cannot be done because Tesla struggled to increase its ramp in vehicle production by 50% year over year. So why would you expect anything different? To which I would reply with, how many parts do you think are in a car and how many parts do you think are in a humanoid robot? Obviously, there are less parts in a humanoid robot, so you can scale production much faster. The tricky part about this whole thing is not production really, although that is going to be challenging too, of course. But the tricky part is making the humanoid robot actually useful enough to be able to deploy or sell this many humanoid robots. How is Wall Street going to react to this and how is it going to view this, even if it does happen? Well, I'm not going to use the word hilarious take from Gary Black, but try not to laugh while I go through this, please. If we take Elon's timeline of 50,000 Optimus robots to be produced in 2026 and 500,000 Optimus in 2027 as fact, that equates to 70 cents in incremental Tesla EPS in 2027, assuming $30,000 per unit and a gross margin of 20% per robot on top of Gary's 2027 core EPS of $7.70. So we would have an increment of 9%. Plus any cost savings from Optimus working 24/7 in the gigafactories. Dave Lee actually stepped into this, and I fully agree with Dave. This is the wrong way to view this. It's not about incremental earnings on a new product round that matters. It's that if Tesla actually does deliver 500,000 Optimus robots in 2027, then their PE will skyrocket due to the massive growth of Optimus going forward. To this fan, Gary Black actually responded with, the reason Tesla trades at 122x the 2025 EPS and 100x the 2026 EPS is because investors are giving Tesla credit to the higher growth opportunities associated with FSD and Optimus. I don't think they are actually giving Tesla a higher valuation due to Optimus. I think most of Wall Street is completely ignoring the Optimus robot. But on the other hand, FSD, they are starting to give a little bit of thought to FSD. Not all of them, some of them, and even the ones that do, they are grossly underestimating it. Anyway, without these opportunities, Gary Black believes that Tesla's valuation would be cut in roughly half. And if people really fully value Tesla's FSD and Optimus bot, the stock would drop a lot more than by half if it was actually already built into the stock, which it obviously isn't. And the reason why Tesla stock is trading at such a high multiple is not just because of the FSD software that will be released or the Optimus bot, but it's because of Elon as well. Investors are assigning value to FSD and some of them to Optimus bot because of Elon. If Elon wasn't there, Optimus bot would be worth pretty much zero in many valuation models of investors. Looking at a stock like Tesla and just looking at it mostly based on a PE ratio is definitely the wrong approach here. Go back to December of 2020 and you will see that Tesla's PE was, for a moment, at 1,120 because smart investors would look at 500,000 humanoid robots delivered in 2027 and would realize, oh, wait, the car market is about 100 million vehicles per year. The humanoid market is going to be probably a lot bigger than that. So Tesla will deliver a lot more humanoids than vehicles. And there is no competition, really, no established competition in the field. So clearly Tesla would have the highest humanoid robot volume. And Elon before threw out a number that there would be a human robot for every person existing. So there are over 7 billion people in the world, and that number is still actually growing. We now have 8 billion people. So if we have 8 billion humanoid robots, and if Tesla gets a market share of 10%, that's 800 million humanoid robots produced by Tesla. And with humanoid robots, software is going to be incredibly important. And Tesla might end up making maybe even more money from the software eventually in the end, or taking a piece of the software that's used in humanoid robots made by Tesla. Sort of like maybe how Apple takes a cut when someone downloads an app and then pays money for that. When you start thinking about the humanoid robot, if it really does happen how Elon Musk envisions it will happen, the opportunities are just too big to fully comprehend with a human mind. The numbers just look too big, too unrealistic, too exaggerated. How could this ever become real? Is what most people feel and think when they start somewhat thinking about it. But careful betting against Elon Musk. When it comes to his long-term predictions, short-term predictions, sure, his timelines have not always been the best, but in the long term, eventually he delivers. Omar criticizes Gary here. You think a humanoid robot will only produce $6,000 of earnings for Tesla over his lifetime? You're off by at least 100 to 1,000 times. Elon made more predictions during this interview. He sees the future with 20 to 30 billion humanoid robots. And when it comes to Neuralink, there's already a third human implant in place, all working well. Elon expects to do 20 to 30 more in 2025, and blindsight working in a monkey. Expectation for that is about 2 years. Before we go any further, I want you to show this news that happened today. There's a screenshot of someone from China showing that full self driving is available to people in China. It hasn't been launched officially, so this is a rumor, but this is a strong indication that it's coming to China. And if you recall what happened earlier last year when the news came out that it is coming to China, the stock jumped a lot in one single day. So if it actually launches there could be something similar. Maybe not a jump of over 15% in one single day, but a substantial jump. Yes, I think that would be reasonable to expect. There's also a new FSD version that's rolling out, v13.3, which will improve highway speed and vehicle follow distance. And this is now official. The refreshed Tesla Model Y has just launched specifically in China, and I'm sure it's coming to every place soon. In China, deliveries begin in March, and there's a decision that has been made, which is a bit controversial, which is adding the stock back, which I love actually. Tesla says they thoughtfully refined everything based on valuable customer feedback, including the indicator stock. Tesla also introduced customizable steering wheel switches, allowing quick and intuitive operation of the most frequently used vehicle functions to better meet drivers' needs. Now, the rear-wheel drive Tesla Model Y that sold in the US, it has a 0 to 60 miles per hour speed of 6.5 seconds. The new one in China is going to do that in about 5.7 seconds, and the long range in China is going to do it in 4.1 versus 4.8 that the US Model Y is doing right now, the all-wheel drive version. I also really like this. There is going to be a camera in the front of the vehicle, so if you are parking and there's, let's say, a barrier underneath that you're afraid to hit and you can't really quite see it, looking through windshield, now you can just look through the camera and you will see exactly where the barrier is, and you can park about this close to the obstacle. And this, of course, will, I think, in the end, improve the performance of full self-driving as well. The new Model Y also comes in this new blue color. I think it looks pretty nice. I love it. And of course, one of the biggest, if not the single biggest complaint about the old Model Y was the stiff suspension, which has been retuned, and now it offers smoother handling, added comfort, more responsive steering, and a quieter ride. So not only did they improve comfort, but they also made it better for steering. Definitely not an easy thing to do. Tesla also says from the front bumper to the taillight, the exterior is completely redesigned to unlock maximum efficiency so you can get the most range out of every charge. With updated suspension, wheels, and tires, your ride will be smoother and quieter. This is not just for suspension that is going to improve your ride. It's new tires and wheels as well. Now, back to the turn stock. Chris Zhang here says he's very disappointed that the new Model Y added a turn signal stock, which is a serious step backwards. I completely disagree with that. Now, in the US, I think you could make a point that it could be okay to not have it here. But in places where you have a lot of roundabouts, I am not a big fan of the turn signals on the steering wheel and not on the stock, because sometimes you have to make a quick maneuver and your steering wheel is already turned, and it can be a bit weird to try to find where the button is exactly. If your steering wheel is like this but your hands are like that, how are you going to do that, huh? I actually tried the Refresh Model 3, and actually during roundabouts it wasn't too bad, but my main issue was when, for example, I would go into a parking lot and I already have my steering wheel turned, and then I want to make a signal. I have no idea where my turning signals are, so I just didn't make a signal. The trick to handling a roundabout safely with turn signals on the steering wheel, I found, is just to not place my hands back. Just always keep my hands wherever the steering wheel is. Just keep going like that so I can easily and quickly turn the signal on. But because it's not steered by wire, I can't do the same thing if I'm actually making a turn and I forgot to turn my signal. Or let's say I'm already in a parking lot and I'm sort of midway through the turn, as in I haven't really started going yet, but I turned my steering wheel and now I need to turn the signal on, and where is it? I'm in a rush. I need to go. So yeah, it's just not very comfortable in situations like that. What's the overall reaction from most people? The majority seems to be pretty happy, and I definitely agree. If you have steer-by-wire, the turn signals are definitely fine on the steering wheel. This is one of those when you realize you have to add back the 10% because you deleted too much moments that Elon always talks about. Also, if you wanted to give a quick high beam to someone while in the middle of a turn, forget it. It was way too confusing for someone. Some people are still expecting the US variant to be stockless. I hope it has a stock personally. But it's not everyone who likes the new added stock. Someone here says, I wonder what the reasoning for this is. The turn signal buttons on the steering wheel work great. And someone is actually happy with turn signals, but then I read his comment and then I realized, he has a Cybertruck. Of course, you have steer-by-wire. Of course, you would be happy with that. Someone else says, while I've gotten used to the totally stockless setup in my X, I'm glad they went this way. Everything else is just better stockless, but the turn signal buttons are a steeper learning curve that a lot of people aren't happy with. Now, the windscreen wiper button has moved from the right side to the left side, so whoever is going to own a Model 3 and a Model Y, that's going to be a little bit confusing. The good thing though is the auto windshield wiper setting is a lot better now compared to before. So you probably won't need to actually use the buttons unless it's really bad. A few more differences between the new and the old Model Y. There is a price increase, at least for now, of about $1,800. The range, though, was also increased by 4.5% to 7%. There is a significant acceleration increase, and one reason for the increase could be a result from lower gearing, which is also a reason why the top speed would be decreased, but you never really use the top speed anyway. No one really cares about the top speed. People just care about acceleration. Interestingly, the weight did not decrease, it increased, but that makes sense because the range is higher. So naturally, the weight usually would be higher, but also the reason for that could be due to the increased length of the vehicle by about 1% or 2 inches, which is maybe roughly this much. The width, for practical purposes, is pretty much the same, and the height is also identical to the previous Model Y. The interior is just a tiny little bit different. The main thing that jumps out to me is the steering wheel. And here's a side-by-side comparison of the old and the new one. The new one is at the bottom. Which one do you like more? I personally, the front, I definitely prefer the new one. By the way, in China, Tesla is calling this new Model Y the first edition. While I'm recording this video, I just double checked. I haven't seen this new model launched in the US or Canada yet. It's basically China right now. The turn signal has been added back, but the gear stock has not been added back, so you still have to shift on the screen. I drove the Model X without the gear shifter, and one time I thought I shifted the gear on the screen and I pressed the accelerator pedal. Instead of going forward, I went back. So that was not good. I loved shifting on the screen until that happened to me. And now I don't like it anymore. And my friend who owns that Model X, he said that happened to him a few times now. But I personally haven't really seen anyone vocally complain about this. The turning signals, though, I've seen so many people complain about those. So I don't know, maybe just his specific Model X that has this issue, because I haven't really seen other people complain about it. The refresh Model Y has all the same ambient lighting that the refresh Model 3 has, and if you noticed, if you paid attention, you just saw a rear screen as well. Check this out, yep, right there. I'm pretty happy with the refresh Model Y. So far, everything looks good to me. The old Model Y had a drag coefficient of 0.23. The new one is 0.22, so just a tiny little bit better. And some people will definitely appreciate this. You no longer need to manually move the back seats. If you want more space, you can just click a button and then the seats just start moving. Oh, and turns out Tesla is going to do like a little special thing for people that first order the Model Y. It's going to have a few extra badges basically showing that it's one of the first few made. It's going to be called the Launch Edition. And you can also see the same image here in the light as well. Oh, and some people will definitely love this. Tesla China has now officially confirmed that the new Model Y front has a drain hole to empty liquid. So you can load it up with ice, put drinks in there, and you will have some good refreshments. Some people are calling it a fruler. Seems like there are some people that don't like the design of the new Model Y, but so it reminds us. Remember when some people felt the original Model X was ugly and then it grew on them? Or remember when some people felt the original Model Y was an ugly, bloated Model 3, but then became the #1 best-selling vehicle in the world? I'm pretty sure those who don't really like it over time will come to like this design as well. Oh, and look at this. It's been 3 hours and I went from I don't like it to I kind of like it. And people are already placing orders of the new Model Y. I believe Warren Redlick now lives in Thailand, so the vehicle, I guess, is available to order not just in China, but in Asian countries as well. Gary Black likes the new update. And yeah, I also just verified that the Model Y is now available not just in China, but in other Asia Pacific countries, at least temporarily. I think the increased price on the new Model Y is a good idea because it accomplishes two things. Number one, takes advantage of people who are less price sensitive because they just want the new thing. And number two, it creates a price gap between the new and the old Model Ys, giving a perception of a better deal for the old Model Y, reducing the need for more discounts. Supposedly, the orders for the new Model Y are exploding. This is just a rumor. It's not backed by hardcore data, but we have seen some rumors before from this account, which turned out to be correct. And before the public release of the Model Y, there was this leak of the refreshed Model Y with a different steering wheel. So my guess is there's a chance that maybe this is going to be an option in some other markets, or something is going on here, because clearly this is a refresh Model Y and the steering wheel is a bit different. Or maybe they are working on adding steer-by-wire, which would then really make sense to add that other steering wheel. And then there was this leaked picture right before the public release. I think there are some angles that maybe are not exactly flattering. Also, a different camera lens is going to make the vehicle look a little bit different. And in this picture, I don't think it looks flattering. But here's a picture officially from Tesla, and in this picture, it looks amazing. Soon there will be an election in Canada, and if conservatives win, This guy, Pierre Poilievre, is going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada, and he just said that it would be nice if we could convince Mr. Musk to open some of his factories here in Canada. I think that would be fantastic, but I don't see that as likely. Although you do get better pricing power for labor because you pay wages in Canadian dollars. Also, just now, Tesla board members have finally officially settled excessive compensation case for nearly $1 billion. So yeah, these board members have literally agreed to return stock options worth about $1 billion. The board members include Kimball Musk, Elon's brother. So it's not just other board members, but also Elon's brother. As part of the settlement, Tesla or the board of directors, they do not admit to any wrongdoing. And now let's talk about deliveries. Tesla's Q1 deliveries exceeded the previous quarter in 2021, 2022, and 2023. However, in Q1 of 2024, deliveries fell below Q4 of 2023. And Troy expects the same this quarter, with deliveries likely dropping below 450,000 units due to disruption from the Model Y unit per upgrade, which makes a lot of sense. Demand pulled forward by Q4 promotions. Then we got the Chinese New Year, but we have the Chinese New Year every year in the first quarter of the year. And then Troy added some brand image challenges. For example, Elon Musk just had a roughly 1 hour long conversation with someone from Germany who is the leader of a party, which by the media is labeled as far right. And some people in Germany will be upset because Elon Musk urges Germans to vote for that party. Relatively speaking, though, Tesla sales in Germany have stagnated for some time because of lower subsidies, so I don't really see any major potential negative effects. Even if this does go wrong, for Tesla, Germany is no longer that important. There's also technically a recall going on right now with Tesla vehicles, and it's largely a software update, but some people will actually need to get this part replaced. The computer circuit board may short, resulting in the loss of the rear view camera image. Tesla released an over-the-air software update, free of charge, of course, to everyone. Tesla will also identify any vehicles that experienced a circuit board failure or stress that may lead to a circuit board failure and replace the affected computers, free of charge, of course. And Tesla is entering a new market in Chile. It's launching Megapacks over there. There's also some pretty big Elon Musk news here. XAI has just launched a standalone Grok app for its iOS users in the US. Hyundai CEO just made a comment about Elon Musk. He thinks that Elon's outsized influence over the Trump administration may actually be positive for the rest of the auto industry. We'll see how that goes for the legacy automakers, but we know that legacy automakers are struggling in China. For example, Honda China sold 111,000 vehicles in December, which is down 32% year over year. And the Volkswagen brand's global deliveries fell 1.4% to 4.8 million in 2024, with battery electric sales down around 2.5% actually. There's also a massive wildfire happening right now as we speak, still in the city of Los Angeles in California. It's pretty bad, and they still haven't put it out. The fire is massive. So Tesla made this announcement to support people evacuating from the fires in the LA area. All autopilot and FSD supervised strikes are being forgiven in the state of California. And TV crews are using SpaceX's Starlink to broadcast their live fire coverage in Los Angeles. There's absolutely no cell service at all in this whole area, the reporter said. Here's a picture of some of the aftermath of some of the fires. The fires are still ongoing. Elon commented on this whole situation. He said, DEI means people die. Elon Musk weighed in on the issue a little bit more. Climate change risk is real, just much slower than alarmists claim. The immense loss of homes in LA is primarily due to, number one, nonsensical overregulation that prevented creating fire breaks and doing brush clearing. And number two, bad governance at the state and local level that resulted in a shortage of water. And as of yesterday morning, so the number now is much bigger probably, 17,000 acres burned. The LA wildfires are said to be the costliest in the US history, analysts said, with total economic losses set to surpass 60 billion, which includes insured losses of more than 20 billion, nearly double the previous costliest wildfire ever in the US. So it's pretty serious. Also, Elon Musk said this is not a parody.
Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Anyone who thinks like that should never become a firefighter. Anyway, that's it for today's news. My name is Matt Postius. I believe that Tesla stock is going to $1,000 per share, and then after that, well above it. And I will see you in the next video, probably on Monday.